Hello, everybody. I'm the Billings Bandit, and I'm here today not with a Billings bummer, as usual, but with a review of a movie I just saw. I haven't really heard much about this movie, and I haven't seen any reviews on it, so I figured I'd let you guys know what it's all about. It's called Final Girls, or The Final Girls, and it's honestly the best way I've thought of to describe it is the Algebra 1 to Cabin in the Woods Advanced Calculus. It's not that it's a dumb movie, it's just not designed for smart people. It's designed for everybody, for the average moviegoer, people who love horror movie tropes and stupid, silly humor that you can get from that dark comedy aspect of doing a horror movie inside of a horror movie. And they have this great backdrop of like a Jason movie basically that they're using to tie the whole thing together. It starts out really strangely with just this scene of a mom and her daughter, and it's pretty telegraphed, but I'm not going to spoil it for you anyway. If you don't see what's going to happen before it happens, then you obviously haven't seen enough horror movies to really enjoy all the jokes that this has to offer, but the movie jumps right into just this idea of this movie called Camp Bloodbath that is a cult favorite because of its overacting and its ridiculous plot twists and its super violence and the fact that everybody who has sex or even shows their breasts in the movie is almost immediately killed. And that's actually kind of one of the funniest things about it is that you actually always hear this chee 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 ha 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 fucking Jason noise every time somebody like makes out or like takes their top off. And the characters have been sucked into this movie. So they can actually hear that whenever a victim's coming at them. The reason that they're sucked into the movie is kind of glossed over, almost as if it doesn't matter. The whole point was just that we wanted to establish that these are real people, put them in a couple situations so you can see how they interact, and their characters are fine. They're not bland. They're not special or anything. I've been noticing this a lot in more modern horror movies, like the remakes of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and Cabin in the Woods and these other horror movies that are coming out, that they're making these characters like too normal. Like they don't seem like real people because there's actors playing them and they're delivering lines that no normal person would ever be able to come up with on the fly, but they don't have any kind of real like over the top personality. And I always loved that about horror movies back when they were over the top and all those B science fiction movies. There's always just this weird boat captain with an eye patch and some weird backstory about being in a war, and like I like characters like that. I don't want to just see a bunch of teenagers who are just normal people. But that's solved pretty quickly when they go into this movie and they meet all these over-the-top characters that don't seem real at all. And like I said, they rush right into just being in the movie. They don't try to like get hung up on some kind of scientific explanation. They're just in the movie now, and we have to deal with that. And it gets like crazier and crazier as time goes on. There's a lot of twists that I didn't expect necessarily. There's a lot of fun like moments where you kind of forget that you're even watching a horror movie. It just kind of seems like you're watching a bunch of teenagers make fun of a horror movie. But it's done in a way that actually, like I said, it's not dumb. It sounds dumb, and I actually was almost going to just skip watching this thing altogether because the idea of it's pretty stupid. But they pulled it off well. Like, you could enjoy this if you liked Cabin in the Woods. Like, they're not mutually exclusive movies. I actually really enjoyed the climax of the movie where everything goes into slow motion and the characters can actually tell that they're running in slow motion, but there's just nothing they can do about it because that's how that scene in the movie goes. Or when they get sucked into the flashback, that was a pretty interesting idea. Just like the characters, since they're not a part of the movie, will just go back in time with the flashback without realizing it. And the logic gets really muddled at the end as to like who's a part of the movie anymore and who's not where they're supposed to be and how it was supposed to end. But holy crap, that final fight is ridiculous. They call it the Final Girls because the idea is that every horror movie has a rule where you whittle down all the people in the movie who don't matter until that final girl's left standing, and she has to be the one to take down the bad guy. They get into a lot of actually fairly sweet, semi-heartfelt scenes just based on the fact that they all understand that only one of them's probably going to make it, and it's pretty cut and dried from the beginning that it's going to be the Virgin. Like, they keep talking about it all the time. So, if you know who the Virgin is, then you pretty much know what's going to happen. But they still give you plenty of surprises and take you for a really fun ride. And I swear to God, that ending, like, after the climactic battle and the credits roll and everything, there is, like, one of the funniest fucking endings I have ever seen in a comedy horror movie. The way that they use the framing device that they've already set up to, like, just pull you right back in and just, it makes you remember that you saw the movie. As soon as I watched it, I actually wrote down on a piece of paper, because I had had a couple of beers. I thought I might fall asleep and forget, so I wrote down, do a Final Girls review. People need to actually know about this movie. They need to see it if that's their thing, because it was a hell of a fun time. And honestly, I don't think that anyone would be too upset watching it, but it's, like I said, it's pretty gory. Like, they go into a movie where a machete killer is just cutting people up, so it's not for kids, but like, anyone above 16 would see the humor in it and have no problem. And there's no actual nudity, and most of the swearing's pretty low key, so I really wouldn't worry about it. I really wanted to point out that Elia Shawkat, I hope I'm saying her name right, she is Maybe from Arrested Development, and I always really enjoyed her in that show, and I haven't really seen her do a whole lot since then, but she is great in this. She's quite funny. She's just the best friend character, and, like, in and of itself is kind of a trope, but she's not even supposed to be part of the movie, so that's actually pretty clever. She's a trope outside of the movie that's full of tropes that they end up meeting. If I had anything else to say about the movie, I would just say, it is actually funner if you have had, like, a couple of beers, or if you're just, like, in the mood to laugh a lot, because honestly, if you're looking for a horror movie, this isn't it. It doesn't ever really make you feel like you're scared for anyone, or that anything bad's gonna happen. The actors aren't even playing characters that seem like they're worried about bad stuff happening. Some of them are even just talking about how they're not gonna make it because I'm the bitchy girl and we're in the second act of the movie, so I'm on borrowed fucking time. And I enjoyed the little fucking nods like that, where she's sure she's gonna die. There's no way. She's had way too much sex. She's been popping Adderall since she got here. She's fucked. Anyway, if you like horror movies, if you like comedies, I think you'd probably get a big kick out of this. If you're in the mood for a lot of jump scares and stuff, this is not gonna have those. But it's not designed to be scary. So that's about all I have to say on it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope you go out and see that movie. And just remember, if you hear that sound, it means somebody's getting laid and are going to die. Have a good night.